Hey guys.
Hey.
Have you ever wondered how much you need for retirement? Today, we want to help you visualize exactly what that could look like for you in terms of numbers, depending on what type of lifestyle you want to lead. I.e., whether you want the minimum or the moderate or the comfortable lifestyle with all your luxuries at retirement. Our goal for you after watching this video is for you to feel a bit more confident about what goal you need to work towards for retirement.
Yep, we're also going to be sharing information whether you are single or whether you are in a couple type situation. But before we get started, today's video is sponsored by PensionBee, who are there to help you take control of your retirement by combining your old pensions into one simple online plan. Join over 956,000 customers using PensionBee today. We're going to put a link to PensionBee below and we'll be sharing more about them later. But for now, let's walk through this video on how much you need to retire. For those who are new to our channel, I'm Ken.
And I'm Mary.
Of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. What we do on this channel, guys, is to give you the tips, the insights, the practical hacks to help you take control of your finances, grow your money, and ultimately one day work towards achieving financial independence and money joy. All right. Should we get started?
Let's do it. Okay, so to get started, let's look at some statistics. So the retirement living standards by the Pension and Lifetime Savings Association, based on independent research by Loughborough University, identified some revealing stats which we're going to look at now.
Yeah, I'm going to link to these below, by the way, so you guys can check them out in your own time.
Absolutely.
So what's the very first stat and why did it stand out to us?
Cool. First, in the study, they looked at change in beliefs, and 77% of the people surveyed do not know how much they will need for retirement. 77%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then 51% of those surveyed believe the minimum automatic enrollment rate is enough. And if you're watching this video, let us know in the comments, do you think that it's enough?
Right, what else did they find?
So in terms of change in behaviours, 20% of those surveyed are confident that they are saving enough for retirement. 70% of them say targets would help them save more.
So people would do better if they knew what they were aiming for, essentially.
Okay. And that's why we're doing this video.
Cool. And in terms of improving outcomes when it comes to kind of planning for retirement, the other thing they found was that 51% of people focus on their current needs and wants at the expense of providing for the future, which would make sense, you know, because in the current climate, a lot of people are focusing on how can I survive right now rather than how can I prepare for the future. But they also found that 70% of 35 to 54-year-olds self-employed savers have less than £25,000 of pension savings. That's 7 out of 10 people who are self-employed, which is a big deal. So hopefully today's video will really speak to a lot of you guys and help you, encourage you better on your journey towards towards preparing for retirement. So essentially, these stats show us that the lack of knowledge for what we need to be preparing, saving for retirement, is a big part of the reason why a lot of us are not saving enough. So what we're going to be doing with today's video, before we get to reveal what they found, we want to start by actually showing, we're sharing quite a lot of screenshots. So please bear with us because they're all part of helping us to really understand how the people who were surveyed really feel about retirement. They're all of different ages from different parts of the country. So what they've done to make this very easy is to split things into 3 levels of expenditure to help us understand the amount we will need to live the lifestyle that we want at retirement. So participants in this research were essentially walked through a home, and for them to then consider what they consider to be the right budget for different lifestyle needs, whether it's a minimum or moderate or comfortable lifestyle, as you mentioned in retirement. So each of the standards mentioned are based around a basket of goods and services, and also take into account different circumstances like living inside of London or living outside of London, for example, or whether you are a single person or a couple, for example. So up on the screen now are expense areas that have been considered in coming to these figures we're going to be sharing in detail, okay? So you can see on that box they've looked at things such as food and alcohol, household goods, clothing, holidays, big one, housing costs, another big one, personal goods and services, social and cultural participation, so going out, eating out and stuff like that, and obviously transport. So they've looked at all aspects of what we might spend money on typically.
Now, having read the 2021 report, which factored in the impact of COVID ourselves in detail, there were some responses from those interviewed in the report that were quite notable. Now, here is advice for young people by a woman that took part in this study, and we're going to put it up in the screen for you to read. And she said, one of the things that I think that younger people should be advised on is how to make sure that you know not to rely on an old-aged pension like I obviously have done. And for them to start saving now while they can do, because you know in 30 years time there may not be such a thing as a state pension. So what are they going to live on? Do you know what I mean? Okay, now on the subject of owning a house versus renting, here is what some respondents had to say. So a woman said, I think there could be an issue coming up in the future as I see more of my friends in rented housing. When I retire, I'm not going to have a mortgage to pay. I'm not going to have rent to pay, whereas they will.
Wow.
And that's a big cost every month. Absolutely. And then there's a response from a man who said, yeah, I totally agree. Finish my mortgage in 5 years and it will take a huge amount of money that I'll be able to spend on myself and my family.
It's interesting to note that this is from people in Scotland. This last comment was from someone in Scotland, maybe worth mentioning. So different locations. Now, I wanted to share something from a man in London. The man in London gave his perspective on housing, and here's what he said up on the screen. I think the proportion of people that are going to have to pay a monthly accommodation cost, whether that's rent or still mortgaging, will be growing because we see the average age of first-time buyers or the average age of people leaving home is increasing year on year. And I imagine that situation can only get worse in an environment where in the last year, house prices have increased by 13% in 1 year. I think the assumption as currently written is in peril. So this is a man in London, giving his perspective on this retirement survey. Now, before we have the big reveal on what retirement savings you need for a minimum, moderate or comfortable lifestyle in retirement, let's take a moment to thank the sponsors of today's video. Pension Bee helps you to combine your old pensions and helps you then invest them into one simple online plan. There are several plans to choose from, managed by the world's biggest managers, including a fossil fuel free option. Now, their simple annual fees range from 0.5% per annum to 0.95% per annum, depending on the plan you choose. And if you have more than £100,000 in your pension, their fees reduces by half on the proportion of your pension pot above that 100k mark.
You can combine your pensions with them in 3 simple steps. Step 1 is to sign up for free in minutes. We'll put a link to them above and below for you to click on and get started.
Step 2 is to tell them about your pensions. Here you give some basic information like the provider name or policy number and simply confirm that you'd like to transfer.
Step 3 is to leave it all to them. They'll start contacting all your old pension providers. You get a personal beekeeper who will provide regular updates every step of the way. To get started with combining your pension in minutes, check out Pension Bee. Again, we'll put the link to Pension Bee above and below for you to check them out and get started. As always, with investments, your capital is at risk.
Okay, here's the big reveal of the UK retirement living standards as at 2021. Okay, up on the screen, you can see looking at for a single person as well as for couples across the 3 categories of minimum, moderate and comfortable retirement, which includes more financial freedoms. Yeah, so we're going to now walk through them one by one. Yeah, we're going to walk through the minimum lifestyle. You're going to walk us through the minimum lifestyle.
Yeah.
The numbers are quite surprising, actually.
They are very surprising. So for a single person that is living in London, you would need £13,200. For a single person living outside of London, you would need a bit less, which is £10,900. And so, yeah, location definitely plays a big factor into how much you need in retirement. And for a couple living in London, they would need £21,100. A couple living outside of London, they would need £16,700. So you can see that it's definitely favourable to be in retirement if you can, as a couple.
If you're a couple, and obviously
If you're a couple.
that's not guaranteed, but
Yes, but the numbers are favourable if you are a couple.
And it's just worth mentioning, it says there in the detail that this covers all your needs with some left over for fun. I'm happy to mention that.
Exactly. So here is a cost breakdown that we're just going to discuss. And notice in this breakdown, which we're going to put up on the screen, that rent is included here for the minimum lifestyle, but not for others. So they're assuming that somebody in the minimum lifestyle hasn't yet paid off their mortgage.
Yeah, and I should mention though, looking at that although they've included rent in the numbers on the screen, what you notice though is that when they totaled it, they excluded rent.
It. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so someone, do you want to just read, there's a really interesting assumption that was made. Do you want to just read that? Again, we'll put this up on the screen for us to see.
So up on the screen, I'm just going to read it out. Groups agreed that at living standards above a minimum, it was reasonable to expect that on reaching the point of retirement, people would no longer have ongoing direct housing costs, either rent or mortgage.
This is interesting. This is actually a really big assumption because, and I'd love you guys to react in the comments as you're hearing this. As you're aiming for retirement, they're assuming that if you're going to have a moderate lifestyle, which I'm going to go through in a minute, that it's assumed that you will not have rent or mortgage to pay. That's a big deal.
Moderate and comfortable
That's a real big deal. So that means that in the numbers we're going to be quoting, if those numbers sound quite high to you or even palatable to you, it means you need to also factor in rent. You know, if you don't expect to become mortgage free or not have rent, you need to actually factor those in. But let's just talk through those minimum standards because I think, what stood out to you in looking at those expense categories?
So I guess what stood out for me, which is top of the list,
up on the screen again,
is food. So for the minimum retirement standard, they're assuming that for one person, they will be spending £47.10 per week on food, and for a couple, they will be spending £75.25 on food. And for me, that's actually quite a lot.
That's a lot. For a proper minimum lifestyle.
For a proper minimum lifestyle.
Which is
so that's
interesting.
not so bad. So there's some wiggle room there, I think.
And it gets higher if you're in London. So they've put there £100, 54 pence for food.
As a couple.
And what's interesting looking at this is that they've factored in other elements that might not relate to everyone. So for example, alcohol, like if it was us, like we don't have an alcohol budget.
No.
Like, so that's good in that sense, because, if you don't drink, then, that alcohol budget can go to something else.
So for alcohol, for one person living in London, they've budgeted £8.93
per week
for that.
Yeah.
And then you've got things such as tobacco, which they've not factored in anything for that.
Yeah, they've just left the whole line out.
They've just left the whole line out. I think they've done that for all categories when it comes to tobacco. So yeah, just look through that.
Yeah,
Clothes,
feel free to pause
water
it.
rates, council tax. Just have a read. Let us know what shocked you, what surprised you in the breakdown of cost there.
Cool. Let me look at the moderate lifestyle because I think for a lot of people, and obviously there'll be various people in our audience who might want minimum, some might want the moderate, some might want the super comfy, super, all bells and whistles lifestyle. The comfy
we
one.
reckon they'll be aiming for moderate at least.
Well,
but,
we don't know. We don't know, right? We don't know.
comments.
It'd be interesting to know what you think you're aiming for. So up on this screen is the moderate lifestyle, right? So the moderate lifestyle says more financial security and flexibility. So remember, for the minimum one, that was all about covering your needs. And that was quite a bit of change to cover your needs. That's pretty serious money there. Now, for the moderate one, it says more financial security and flexibility. So if you are someone who is single, it says here that you're going to need £20,800 per annum, to have that financial security and flexibility. And if you're in London, 24,500. And then if you are moderate, but you are in a couple situation, then if you're in London, you're going to need £36,200 per year for a couple, or £30,600 for a couple living outside of London. And again, I'll put up on the screen a breakdown. Feel free to pause that, and react even to those costs. You can see, looking at food, now they've said for a couple in London, they need £166.37 for their food. They've also factored in bits of alcohol, and all those other, things. But I think the one that really stood out is social and cultural participation. Yeah, so this is like going out. I'm sure that probably includes holidays as well.
Yeah,
so in that £207.40 per week. That's
for a lot. Yeah, it's a lot, but then when you think that they've probably saved that up over the months for like a holiday, it's not actually that much.
I think it's actually pretty... Well,
it's decent.
Yeah.
It's decent.
I think it's decent.
Yeah.
But as we said before, notice that there is no rent or mortgage assumed at this level.
Which is a big assumption.
All right, give us like the super comfy, financial freedom type levels.
All right, so for those of you aiming for the luxury lifestyle.
Comfy.
So for somebody living outside of London, a single person, they're assuming you would need to be earning £33,600 per annum. And if you are in London, that would be £36,700. Now, if you're in London, that goes up for a single person to £49,700. And for a couple in London, that's £51,500.
51,500 in income.
So that's quite interesting. And again, we're going to put up on the screen a cost breakdown for the comfortable lifestyle at retirement. So for a couple in the UK, they will have £222 to spend per week on food, which is quite a lot. And then for a London couple, they're suggesting here that they will also need the same amount, which is £222.69 for food.
It's interesting that they're basically saying that someone who's like wanting a comfy lifestyle in London is the same as someone wanting a comfy lifestyle. So comfy lifestyle is the same anywhere in the UK, effectively is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Because it says the same as well in social and cultural participation. It's the same numbers across that.
It's the same across, yeah. But then it differs for water rates and council tax, where it does cost more to live in London, basically. So notice again in this breakdown that there is no rent or mortgage assumed. So this implies that if you do plan to still rent at retirement, or if you still plan to have a mortgage, then you need to factor in those additional costs into your numbers.
Yeah, and this is, I personally think it's actually a pretty big deal. Like those numbers, those are big numbers, if you want to live that comfortable life.
It is very big
Now,
numbers.
hearing all that, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, what does that mean for me? How does that ideal, imagine you said to yourself, you know what, I want that comfy life, or I want that moderate lifestyle, or even I want the minimum lifestyle. How does that compare to where I'm at now in my retirement savings and what I need to be doing next in order to be able to get to that place where I have that annual income?
What's the gap?
This is exactly where a pension calculator comes into the picture. So what we're going to be doing now is demonstrating to you guys using the PensionBee pension calculator, which is available for free on their website, and we'll also link to it below if you want to click through and play around with it and try and use it to kind of work some of these numbers out yourself. Now, I should mention, to be very clear, the pension calculator will help you see how much you need to be saving in your pension with certain assumptions made in order for you to arrive and one day have the desired income level that you want at retirement. What we're now going to do is actually take those desired income levels, so the amounts we need for the minimum, moderate, as well as the comfortable life. We're going to now plug that into the calculator and make some assumptions for a hypothetical person as to where they're at now and what it means for how long their pension will last them into the future. Now, I should mention that the calculator we're going to be using now is based on savers' estimates and certain assumptions around investment growth, inflation, and fees, okay? So the numbers we're going to be looking at right now are for guidance purposes only, but they give you a really good idea. Okay, so as we can see from this calculator here, looking here on our iPad, we've put in, the way this works is via the various sliders. We made some certain assumptions. Someone who's 36, retiring at the age of 67, they've got current pension pot of £10,000 and they want a desired income of £20,800, which according to what we had on the screen earlier is for a single person who wants a moderate retirement.
And they're living outside of London.
And they're living outside of London, exactly. If their current monthly contributions, personal contributions, £310 per month, and their employer is contributing £250 per month, this assuming they include a full state pension and they take 25% at 55, we can see that this calculator is saying that they're actually on track to have £256,605 at retirement, and if they take 20,800 per annum. It will last them until the age of 94.
Nice.
That is brilliant.
That is very good. But we're assuming that they'll get the state pension. So let's see what it
Yeah,
will
and
take
if we took out the
out.
full state pension,
Yeah.
right? If you took that out, then it will last them to the age of 80.
Okay.
So that's still pretty good.
That's still good.
That's still pretty good. So we're seeing that basically what we're trying to illustrate here is that the more we start to invest each month into our pensions, the more the future, we have more comfort. And remember, this is again for guidance purposes only.
Yeah.
You can go and play around with the calculator yourself,
a great calculator, by the way.
and just play around with it. And we love the simplicity of that. So the whole point of us doing this again is just to illustrate, first of all, that you can use a free calculator, a pension calculator available at Pension Bee to kind of look at this for yourself. But the key here is for us to educate our audience, for us to really be real about retirement, to really visualize it rather than it just being random numbers. I want you to really make this your own.
Yeah, definitely. And the way you make it your own is by really being close to the numbers and actually knowing what goal that you are working towards in terms of what type of retirement lifestyle you want for yourself. So we hope that's made it a bit clear for you. Definitely go and play with the calculator, the Pension Bee calculator, because it's an excellent free resource for you to use.
Yeah. And guys, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. How does this whole, this video looking at retirement lifestyle, how has that made you feel? I would love to hear from you in the comments. What sort of lifestyle do you think you want at retirement based on what we've shared on today's video? We're going to put up on the screen again that summary of the various lifestyles, minimum, moderate and comfortable for single and couples, for those living in London and outside London. Let us know in the comments what do you think you're aiming for? Yeah. And do you feel like you are saving enough to work towards that? And if you don't, what questions you have for us, so we can jump in the comments and help you guys out. Okay, we hope you've really enjoyed today's video. If you really enjoyed it, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, because that helps our message to get out to far more people who need to hear more about what they need to do in order to have a comfortable retirement one day.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. And as ever,
in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care, people.
Guys.
Much love.
Bye.
Bye.